The studio lot is empty. It's 2:47 in the morning, August 1959. A single lamp burns inside Soundstage 7. Its light flickers against vast darkness, like a secret refusing to stay buried. Inside, Marilyn Monroe stands alone before a mirror, still in costume, mascara streaked. She's staring at something in the glass, something that isn't her reflection. In the far corner of the frame, barely visible through the window behind her, a silhouette, motionless, watching. She turns. The window is empty, but on the dressing table, beneath the harsh makeup bulbs, sits a white gardenia she didn't put there, still wet with dew. She lifts it with trembling fingers, her breath shallow, her whisper cutting through the silence like a blade. "How did you get in here?" The camera doesn't answer. Neither does the darkness. Hollywood, 1952. The machinery of dream-making runs on three fuels: light, lies, and longing. Marilyn Monroe understands this better than most. She's learned that the woman they want, the platinum goddess, the breathless siren, exists only in the space between the camera lens and the audience's desire. The moment the director yells "cut," she becomes something else, someone else, a girl from nowhere, trying to remember which smile belongs to which room, trying to remember which version of herself they've paid for today. The studio lot at Fox is an empire of false fronts, marble columns made of plaster, brownstones that are hollow. Even the sunlight feels manufactured, filtered through scrims, and bounced off reflectors, until it becomes something that never truly existed in nature. Marilyn moves through this kingdom of beautiful lies, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. Hair and makeup at 5 a.m., blocking at 6:30, shooting until the light dies, or her energy does, whichever comes first. She's 26 years old, and already exhausted by being desired. The first time she notices him, it's nothing, a flicker at the edge of awareness. She's leaving the commissary after lunch, a meal she barely touched, just pushed lettuce around a plate while her acting coach dissected her performance in yesterday's rushes. When she feels it, that particular weight that comes from being watched. In Hollywood, being watched is weather, it's atmosphere, but this feels different, more concentrated, more intimate. She turns. The usual crowd, grips smoking near the loading dock, 2 actors in period costume, heading stage 4, a cluster of secretaries on their break, no one looking directly at her, no one who shouldn't be there. But the feeling remains. 3 days later, it happens again. She's in wardrobe, being fitted for a cocktail dress that's been taken in twice already. The studio wants her thin, always thinner. When the seamstress steps out for more thread, Marilyn is alone, standing on the platform in her slip, pins bristling from the half-finished hem. Through the window that faces the back lot, she sees him, a man, average height, dark coat, despite the California heat, standing beside the painted backdrop of a New York street that will never feel rain. He's not doing anything, not moving, just watching the wardrobe building with an intensity that makes her skin prickle. She steps down from the platform, moves toward the window. He doesn't look away. Even from this distance, 60, maybe 70 feet, she can feel his focus lock onto her like stage lights, finding their mark. For a moment, neither of them moves. Then a truck rumbles between them, hauling set pieces. And when it passes, he's gone. The seamstress returns, pins clinking in her apron. "Everything all right, Miss Monroe?" Marilyn realizes she's gripping the window frame hard enough to hurt. "Fine. Yes. Just needed air." But she's not fine. Something in that moment felt like recognition, like being seen through every mask she wears, every performance, down to whatever's left underneath. And she doesn't know if that's the most terrifying thing that's ever happened to her, or if some buried part of her has been waiting for it. She tells no one. In Hollywood, you learn quickly what kind of stories make you sound difficult, unstable, replaceable. A girl claiming she's being watched. That's called publicity, sweetheart. That's called the price of fame. Put on your lipstick and smile. So she does. But But she starts noticing him everywhere. Outside the dance rehearsal studio on Wednesday afternoon, standing across the street perfectly still while traffic flows around him. In the crowd of tourists they let onto the lot for a studio tour. Except he's not taking pictures, not pointing at the stars, just watching her walk from her dressing room to the set. Once, impossibly in the parking structure at 11 p.m., when she's leaving after reshoots, standing 3 levels up in the shadows, his face obscured, but his posture unmistakable now. She knows the shape of him, the way he holds himself separate from the world, like he exists on a different frequency. Security finds nothing. She reports it once carefully, framing it as concern rather than fear. 2 guards sweep the lot. No unauthorized personnel. No one matching her vague description. The assistant director suggests, gently, that maybe she's working too hard. Maybe she should take a weekend. Get some rest. She stops reporting it. The thing about being watched in Hollywood is that it's supposed to be transactional. You give them the image. They give you adulation. Everyone knows the exchange. But this man wants something different. He's not asking for an autograph. Not trying to get close. He maintains distance with an almost religious precision. Always just far enough away that she can't make out his features. But close enough that she knows. He's there. The gardenias start appearing in October. The first one is on the hood of her car after a 17-hour shoot. White petals. Perfect. Against the black paint. No note. No explanation. She picks it up. Looks around the parking lot. Empty. She takes it home. Puts it in water. Tells herself it's from a fan. A sweet gesture. Nothing sinister. But she doesn't believe herself. The second gardenia is inside her locked dressing room, placed carefully on her chair. The third is at her apartment building, left at the front desk, with her name written in careful, anonymous script on a plain white card. The fourth appears on the set itself, tucked behind the mirror she uses to check her hair between takes. That one makes her miss her cue. The director has to call her name 3 times. Where do they keep coming from? She asks her makeup artist, trying to sound casual. What, hun? The flowers. Someone keeps leaving me gardenias. The makeup artist dabs powder across Marilyn's nose. Doesn't look up. That's sweet. You got a secret admirer. Marilyn doesn't answer. Secret implies hidden. And this doesn't feel hidden. It feels deliberate. It feels like a language she's supposed to be learning. By 1955, the pattern has evolved. He no longer just watches from crowds. He has learned her rhythms, her roots, the invisible architecture of her daily life. He knows when she arrives at the studio and which entrance she uses. He knows she stops at the same coffee shop on Sunset when she's running late. He knows she walks along the beach in Malibu on Sundays, early, before the tourists arrive. And he's always there, always at the periphery, never approaching, never speaking, but present with a consistency that begins to feel like fate. She's more famous now. The 7-year itch has made her nuclear. Everywhere she goes, cameras flash, fans scream, hands reach. The noise of being Marilyn Monroe has become deafening. But in that chaos, she has learned to pick out one particular silence, the space where he stands. He never screams, never rushes her. He just watches. And somehow, that singular focused attention cuts through everything else. It should terrify her. Some days it does, but some days, the days when the studio has dressed her like a doll, posed her like furniture, reminded her she's product not person. His presence feels like the only authentic thing in her life. The only interaction that isn't scripted. The night she realizes she's started looking for him, everything shifts. She's at a premiere, some glossy technicolor thing she barely remembers filming. She's in white, her cheeks hurt from smiling. And during the after-party she slips out a side exit for the alley behind the theater is dark, lit by a single flickering bulb. She breathes, finally unseen. Except, she isn't. He's there, across the alley, standing in the shadow of a fire escape closer than ever. For the first time she can almost see his face, the line of his jaw, the hollows beneath his eyes. Young, hungrier than food could ever explain. What do you want? Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. He doesn't answer, doesn't move. Something in his posture softens, A surrender of some kind. I could scream, she says. Security is right inside. Still nothing. But she's no longer sure she wants him to leave. Who are you? The question floats between them. Fragile, dangerous. His mouth opens. He's about to speak. But voices erupt behind her. Handlers. Publicists. The machine that owns her. She turns for 1 second. And when she looks back, he's gone. Vanished into the Los Angeles dark. All that remains is a single white gardenia, placed carefully on the lower rung of the fire escape. That's the night she starts talking to him. Not out loud, but in her mind. In the quiet moments, she narrates her life to the man who watches. She tells him about the loneliness of hotel rooms, the weight of being desired but never known, the way studio lights burn her from the inside. She tells him things she tells no one else. And in her imagination, he listens, purely, complete. By 1957, she has been married, divorced, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt again. She knows how to drink just enough to take off the edge. She knows how to smile through the pills the studio doctor gives her. She knows being Marilyn Monroe is a full-time job, and the hours are killing her. But he's constant, her unknown watcher, her shadow audience. The incidents escalate. She finds a gardenia on her pillow in a Chicago hotel, meaning he was in her room as she slept. Another appears inside her hand luggage after a flight to New York, tucked between aspirin and a script. Once, during a brutal fight with her acting coach, she looks out the apartment window through tears and sees him below, watching, witnessing, and somehow, it feels less like violation, more like the only form of honesty left in her life. She knows she's losing her mind. No one else sees him. Security never finds him. The gardenias could come from anyone, or no one. Maybe she invented him. Maybe he is what loneliness looks like when it finally takes shape. But then, the photographs, October 1958, slipped under her trailer door. 4 Polaroids. Edges still developing. Pictures of her taken from impossible angles. Leaving the studio, walking on the beach. Sitting alone in her car. Not paparazzi shots. Composed. Deliberate. Artistic. Each one captures a piece of her no one was ever meant to see. An unguarded Marilyn. A private breath. A moment where the mask dissolves. She should be terrified. She burns the Polaroids in the bathroom sink. Watches the chemicals curl into smoke. Tells herself this is over. She will get security. She will tell someone with power. But she doesn't. Because beneath the fear is a different truth. A question she never dared ask. What if he's the only person who has ever actually seen her? The final encounter happens on a soundstage at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, in August 1959. She's been shooting for 20 hours. Some Like It Hot is finished. But the work never stops. There's always another role, another mask, another performance demanded of her. She told the crew she wanted to rehearse alone. The truth is simpler and sadder. She just needed quiet. A moment where Marilyn Monroe could stop existing. She stands in the mock penthouse set. A room built from plaster, gold paint and illusion. The city behind the window is only fabric and imagination. The air is still. Too still. That's when she feels it. The weight. The silence. The familiar presence that has followed her for 8 years. I know you're here, she says to the empty darkness. For a moment nothing. Then footsteps. Soft. Deliberate. Emerging from beyond the circle of studio lights. He steps into view. This time, she sees him clearly. Young. Mid-20s. Thinner than she imagined. Eyes dark enough to drown in. Carrying something between devotion and madness. His white shirt looks too clean for someone who has lived this long in shadows. They stand 30 feet apart. Not actress and fan. Not predator and prey. But two people suspended between truth and illusion. He trembled, not with violence, but with the unbearable effort of stepping into the light. Why? Her voice cracks. Why have you been following me? He swallows. When he speaks, his voice sounds unused. Like something broken inside has been repaired bad. Because you're the only real thing in this place. She lets out a broken laugh. I'm not real. I'm the least real person here. No. He steps closer. They're the ones who aren't real. The sets. The scripts. The smile. But you, when you think no one is watching. When your face goes quiet. He exhales. That's real. That's the only truth in this entire factory. You've been watching me for 7 years. 8. He corrects softly. Since before you were famous, when you were doing bit parts. When you were still learning to hide behind this creature they made you become. You looked at me once. Just a glance. But I saw it. The exhaustion. The fear. The disappearance. The soundstage shrinks around them. Walls closing like a confession. But she takes a small step toward him. What do you want from me? Nothing. He says it like a wound splitting open. That's the point. I don't want anything. I never wanted you to be anything except you. I just wanted to witness. To see you when you weren't performing. To prove there was still someone underneath all this. And is there? Her voice trembles. He meets her eyes. I don't know. That's what terrifies me. I've watched you become Marilyn Monroe. And I've watched Marilyn Monroe eat you alive. The gardenias. She whispers. Your favorite. He says. From before. You told a reporter once that gardenias reminded you of your mother. Nobody remembers that interview. I do. Tears spill. She doesn't bother to hide them. You can't keep doing this, she says. Following me. I know. He nods. That's why I came tonight. To end it. To let you see me once. So I'm not just a shadow anymore. He takes another step back. So you know, he says. Voice shaking. That someone saw you. The real you. And thought you were worth watching. What happens now? She asks. He backs farther into the shadows. You won't see me again. I disappear. For real this time. She steps toward him. Involuntary, helpless. Know what? She says softly. He pauses. Just once. A breath held between two collapsing worlds. That you were worth saving. And then he is gone. Vanished into the dark that birthed him. She stands alone on the empty set. In the costume of a woman who doesn't exist. Beneath lights that burn. But do not warm. On the dressing table. Beneath the glowing bulbs of the mirror lies a single white gardenia. The last one. Still wet with dew. Dew that could not possibly exist in a sealed soundstage at 3 in the morning. She picks it up. And she keeps it. He was never identified. No records matched. No footage captured him. Security insisted he never existed. But Marilyn's assistant later found a dried white gardenia pressed between the pages of Marilyn's diary. Preserved perfectly. Impossibly. Long after gardenias should crumble into dust. In a world built on illusion. Someone watched Marilyn for 8 years. Asking nothing in return but the privilege of witnessing her existence. The question no one ever answered. Was he proof that someone finally saw her, or proof that she had been consumed so completely by the gaze, that she could no longer exist without it? And when the watcher disappeared, did Marilyn lose him, or lose the last piece of herself?